Do you want to think clear, make better decisions, and actually remember your ideas? Start here.
Hey, I'm Ethan Harrington. I started a business called Simplimation where I help small businesses deal with repetitive tasks through building out automations and doing consulting. Newer at this, so I'm learning as much as you're learning. And this is just a video about certain tools that I find really helpful.
Yeah, I just want to take a sec and kind of talk about why notebooks I think are so important. I've been carrying a notebook slash using a notebook for, oh man, 8 years or so, since I was like 16 and I'm 24 now. And it's been kind of life changing. I've used it in so many occasions. I've used it for art, used it for ideas, I've used it for setting goals, I've used it for journaling, I've used it for times of depression. And it's been a really good tool. And I think it's a really underrated tool because it's, you get a nice little notebook for like $3. And I think it's a lot better than journaling on your computer or typing on a Google Doc. C.S. Lewis has this great quote where he says, "Whenever you're fed up with life, start writing. Ink is the great cure for all human ills, as I have found out long ago." I think that's such a good quote. C.S. Lewis, one of the great thinkers of his time, obviously Narnia and all that, but he wrote a space trilogy, and he was also a great Christian thinker. If we're not taking advice from wise thinkers like that, what are we doing? We're writing our own destiny. We're trying to figure out on our own. Like, why not take the advice from great thinkers and people that have done in the past and use the tools and the techniques that they did? And that's all stuff that I'm kind of really interested in, is using the tools and the techniques that great thinkers have done in the past and implementing that into my own life. When I started my business, Simplimation, I immediately sought counsel to do that. I didn't really just like jump in without reaching out to people that I trust and saying, "Hey, I have this idea. Is this a good idea? Do you think I'm capable of this idea?" And if they weren't really on board with it, then I would have restructured how I would have gone about things and gone on a different path. But because, pretty much everybody was like, "Hey, I think you're capable. I think you should do this." I sought out counsel, and counsel gave me wisdom, and wisdom helped me move forward with my business, which has been very successful in the past 6 months. In 6 months, I've gotten 7 clients, turning into 8, and it's just getting more sizable and more sizable from there. And that was through seeking counsel first, seeking wisdom first, and then taking action fast and failing fast. But the notebook has been an integral part of the process, from being a teenager, not knowing what to do, tripping on acid, to then getting a good career in tech and eventually starting my own business. Yeah, the notebook has been an integral part of that. I have right here, I kind of have, when I was talking about first starting my business, I was journaling that like every day for a while in my notebook about, okay, if I'm going to start my business, here's some ideas here's some people that I want to talk to and be accountable to monthly. How do I get clients? How do I kind of every step, because I've never started a business before. So obviously reaching out to people that I trust, setting up monthly meetings with them to get advice, to kind of help me walk through how to actually run a business. And then taking the time to think slowly about the business, slowly about how to go about things, how to fail, how to keep accountability, how to make a really good product, and how to do work really well. Scientific America did this really good study about notebooks versus taking notes digitally, and they found, because you could take notes digitally, you can type quite fast and almost kind of word for word for maybe like a lecture that you're a part of or something you're learning how to do. But they found that when you're taking notes, you can almost never write down everything that the lecturer is actually saying. So when you're taking notes, you actually have to pay attention to what the lecturer is saying or what you're learning, sort through what's important and what's not important, and that process helps solidify that knowledge in your brain. And then so you're thinking about, okay, what not to say, what to say, and at the same time you're doubling down and you're writing what the important facts are in your notebook. So you're getting kind of like a double filter of memorization, a double filter of how to learn and how to solidify those important facts into your brain. And they use this term called cognitive offloading in the article and in the study, where I guess you substitute learning things really well and solidifying that knowledge in your brain for easy access to that knowledge. And so instead of remembering, oh, I got to do this, or what was that product that I needed at Home Depot or whatever, you take a picture of it, which is fine, but that's an example of cognitive offloading. You can look it up. You have easy access to the internet almost at all times. But that also becomes a detriment because when you never take the time to learn anything deeply, you're always cognitive offloading. So you're always relying on tools and your phone and the internet to remember the important things in your life, and you're never actually solidifying that in your brain. So that becomes kind of a detriment to learning well and learning deeply. So Cal Newport is another guy who talks about this, I think, pretty well. He's an MIT professor. He has this book. Well, he has quite a bit of books, but all of them, the through line. He has a book called Deep Learning. He has a book called Slow Productivity. The through line through the books are taking the time to think about things very deeply, to solidify the things that are actually important to your life. And he points to how focusing on one thing seems in this kind of day and age of productivity to not be super productive. And it doesn't seem, societally to not be actually getting things done. But in reality, when you focus on one thing and you do the deep work and you do it really well, you actually tend to get more done, which is really cool. And I think notebooks are a really good tool to be able to do that as well, because when you use a notebook, you're taking the time and you're moving slowly with your thoughts and you're writing them down. You're processing what's important, what's not important. And when you do that, that helps you solidify what's important in your life and what's not important in your life. And when you're not kind of filtering what's not important, what's important in your life, then you're stuck scrolling on TikTok for 3 hours, not knowing what you just saw, going to bed, and then going to work the next day with no real goals in your life. So I think a notebook is a good way to kind of like seize the day. It's a good way to be intentional about your life and what your goals are and what you actually want to do. These are all the notebooks I've had since I was probably around 16. I remember these ones, I was in high school. And then these ones are kind of the ones I tend to use smaller notebooks the older I get, because I found certain tools like fanny packs that I can actually keep them in and on my body at all times. But there's got to be more as well, but these are the ones that I could find off the bat. And yeah, I mean, I go through using them sometimes every day, and then sometimes I go through using them once a week or twice a month or whatever. It doesn't really necessarily matter, but it's kind of just like where you're at in life at that time. But yeah, to kind of summarize everything up, I think carrying a notebook is really important. I think if you don't have one, you should get a notebook. Have a great day. Go take an hour and just no music, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and just write some stuff down that you've been thinking about. Have a great day. Ethan Harrington, Simplimation.net.